Hi there, Jeff Teper from Microsoft, where I'm the president of the Collaborative Apps and Platforms Group. And I'm excited on behalf of Microsoft to welcome you to the Metaverse One conference. You know, this is the best community in tech. I've been a part of it for many years, and we're very fortunate to work with customers and partners around the world and have events like this share the latest technologies and best practices and perspectives and make it for accessible for anybody to join. So just by way of background, if you're looking for more community events on Microsoft 365, you can always go to our communitydays.org site and learn more about them or even create your own. But today's a special day with the Metaverse One conference. It's really unique and I think ahead of the curve, which makes it perfect, is a chance for us all to learn together about key emerging new technologies. So special thanks to the organizers and the presenters for the Metaverse One conference. We're very excited to hear what you think about it. Of course, I'll kick us off. I'm not going to go through all the product details that are covered in a variety of follow-up sessions, but I do want to talk about the transformation of work because it's one of these things that seems like it happens overnight, but when you're in the midst of it, it seems like some of these technologies are moving a little bit slowly. And so the way we try to share best practices and long-term perspective on that is with our Microsoft Work Lab site. That's where we share research from our Work Trends Index. It's something we kicked up our investment in during the pandemic on and got great feedback. So go ahead and take a look at that. That's really going to touch on some of the key technologies we're talking about here, whether it's hybrid or the more immersive user experiences that are coming to products and devices in the years ahead. The changes behind the things we study in Work Lab are, of course, a mixture of people and technology. Technology doesn't show up and automatically we live differently and work differently. There's a back and forth as new technologies get tested for what things are useful to people, what things are economically viable to organization, and there's give and take as products and technologies iterate. And while there's been a lot of things in the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I think there's three big mega trends to talk about. One is the shift to the cloud. Second, where we're really in the heat of the activity right now with AI. And third, where we're kind of on the leading edge with some of the new immersive or metaverse technologies. And of course, if we look at technology adoption, Bill Gates had a quote we love to use that technology change happens slower than we think in the short term and faster and bigger than we think in the long term. The Gartner Research Group also talks about this as the Gartner hype cycle. And you can see a period on this graph where people talk about the trough of disillusionment. And with each of these technologies, cloud, AI, and now mesh, metaverse, immersive experiences, they all kind of go through that. In fact, in AI, which now everybody, of course, is talking about how its day has come and it's useful in mainstream, AI actually went through multiple AI winters in the 70s and 80s as the technology wasn't quite ready and new hardware innovations, algorithmic innovations had to come to enable it. And so I think we're seeing this in AI hitting its sweet spot, and the metaverse mesh technologies are sort of a little bit earlier on the curve. But let's, for perspective, start with the cloud. Just to share the distribution of technology takes a little bit of time. It was back in about 2007, 8 that we and other vendors, we weren't the only one for sure, started talking about hosting or online services or software as a service, or what we now call cloud. It was actually Bill Gates at our SharePoint conference in 2008 that announced that Microsoft Online Services, including SharePoint Online, Exchange Online, would be available for organizations of all sizes. We simplified the naming and packaging of that in 2011 with Office 365, which really took about 4 or 5 years to catalyze its growth. And then the inclusion of Microsoft Teams evolving from what we've done with Lync and Skype for Business in our cloud offering really helped accelerate things to the next level and helped us be ready for the pandemic for widespread distributed work powered by the cloud. It should be obvious to everybody at this point that the cloud gives you anywhere access to the latest tools with far more economic efficiency than anybody trying to run this in their own data centers at subscale utilization. They're always up to date. We have the best security practices. We can support them in all over the world in various data centers for various governments and so forth. And so the economic and user value of the cloud is sort of not really debated at this point. But just to highlight a couple of things, the cornerstones of it for us. We have Microsoft Teams, which is our hub for teamwork, bringing together applications from Microsoft, as well as third-party ISVs and the custom line of business applications you build. They could be things built in JavaScript or Power Apps or the SharePoint framework or more. We recently announced that Teams has over 300 million monthly active users. And so thank you very much for all your support. We don't take it for granted. And the next wave of innovation is going to be even bigger. Underpinning Teams and a lot more is our content management system, SharePoint. It's the most flexible content cloud platform in tech, powers OneDrive and SharePoint and Teams and new innovations like Loop and Stream. And yes, will be part of the underpinnings of the work that we do for the metaverse. Teams and SharePoint are very much the foundation of some of the things that are coming with Mesh. As a sign of the momentum there, over 200 petabytes of new content is added each month to SharePoint. And so these Teams and SharePoint metrics are 10, 20, 30 times what they were 5, 6, 7 years ago, which is, again, the indication of these technology adoption cycles, that there's sort of an S-curve once they pass sort of mainstream. And so all this comes together in Microsoft 365, and we are continuing to innovate faster than ever. As we said, we don't take the adoption that we've seen for granted. We know you want more and more capabilities. And so whether it's simplicity or flexibility for end users, the ability to build custom apps for developers or new security and governance controls for IT, we're innovating in Microsoft 365 faster than ever. But now let's switch to AI. Incredibly exciting space. It's hard to catch up. New technology every day. And the AI and metaverse technologies really you'll see, it will go hand in hand in the future. But in terms of AI, I think a big inflection point, we've included this technology for many years in our products, but as the language models got larger, they got more capable, being able to do new things. So we struck up a partnership with OpenAI and released a tailored language model for developers called GitHub Copilot a few years ago. And the feedback on that was remarkable. 74% of people say it frees them up to do more valuable tasks. 88% say the code's useful. I find this incredibly useful. I'm not the world's best developer myself. And so I go in and say, how do you do X, Y, Z? And it generates a whole bunch of code for me. And I learn in the process. So I love the term Copilot as opposed to autopilot for that. So inspired by what we've done with Copilot in GitHub and the latest language models, the GPT-4 model from OpenAI that we included in Bing, connected to internet search, we introduced in March Microsoft 365 Copilot that combined three things. One is the latest generation large language models. Two is access to your organization's content, documents, emails, chats, etc., restricted with security, so only users who have access to information see it in the Copilot recommendations, and that content is never used to train the models. And then lastly, the commanding of the applications. So it's not just used for summarization. You can use it for things like creating a new PowerPoint or a new Word document, and it's pretty magical. But that was sort of the start of the wave, if you will. And I'm not going to go through all the announcements we've made in the last 6 months here, but suffice it to say, Satya has pivoted the company in a big way to use the latest AI technology to help us innovate for customers so they can get more work done, they can feel more empowered, they can learn with a very high ROI on the investment they'd make in that technology. And no event timing is perfect. We are just before our next AI set of announcements, so I'd flag that for you. Tune in on September 21st to see what we've got next for Copilot. I'm sure You'll be excited by that. And so now transitioning to the next wave, and I do think where we are with the metaverse and more immersive experience or presence experiences is kind of what we went through with AI, that these technologies been around for a long time. The experience on them was not yet up to what would be needed for mainstream everyday use. But we kept plugging away and pushing. And there was periods of disillusionment, if you will, in virtual reality over the last not just few years, but actually 20, 30 years, as this technology has been around for a while. But I really think we're about to uh, take a stick growth in this, precisely because we at Microsoft have been focused on what is the utility behind this technology. And so let me talk about what we see in our work lab research, which is the hybrid paradox, where through COVID, we've given people a lot of flexibility on how they work around the world, organizations have. And yet, on the one hand, people like that flexibility. On the other hand, they say they're missing something. They miss it's the in-person human connections, mentoring, and so forth. And obviously, there's a bit of tension between employees and leaders on all this. And that causes people to be open for new ways to work, new technologies for going beyond, say, the video call for how a group of people can come together. And so we're really excited about having the foundation for that in Microsoft Teams. With Microsoft Teams, we let people work anywhere, anytime, any device, asynchronous, synchronous, all in one place. And a cornerstone of what we've been trying to do is the work we've been doing with Microsoft Teams rooms and devices. And let me play a little bit of video that will show where we're going with that using AI technology to make the experience feel more natural for remote participants and for people who might be in the office. So let's take a quick look. But as good as this is, it doesn't really unlock the same level of creativity and connection that people have in person, and maybe doesn't scale to the serendipity of, say, roaming the hallways in a larger workplace. It's not like it's natural to have a side conversation in a large Teams meeting. In fact, it'd be deemed rude. Whereas after a in-person meeting, you could break up into different side groups or have a one-on-one chat. And so that's where this notion of space or presence that sort of models something a little richer than the video grid comes in. And that's what we've been working on with Microsoft Mesh. Microsoft Mesh is our solution for helping you deliver immersive experiences for your employees, for happy hours, for brainstorming sessions, for new employee onboarding scenarios, for just the kinds of things where serendipity and fun and engagement and being stimulated by a richer set of creative visuals than say a grid would allow you to do. And so Microsoft Mesh, people ask us, is three things. One, it's avatars. So you can sort of get going in a meeting with your avatar, to turn video off but still be engaged. It's a little bit of training wheels, if you will, from immersive experiences in the metaverse. This is available in GA today. We've actually been shocked at how fast organizations have adopted avatars, and so I encourage you to take a look at it today. But then the sort of more volumetric 3D spaces, the sort of out of box experience we have in immersive spaces and Teams, and then the ability to build a custom space. You may have seen some of the things like the World Economic Forum has done to help people understand the environment, where they've worked with Accenture to create a really engaging physical space. We've highlighted that, and you'll probably see some of that in this session. And so those are the three pieces: the avatars in Teams, these immersive spaces that are out of box in Teams, and then ability to create your own custom immersive spaces and worlds. And just to really emphasize, all this is available on the desktop, which is really where people live. It's comfortable. I think it's where people will experience these 3D experiences for quite a while. It's what we see in video gaming on PCs and phones and consoles. But there's really a level of magic that only can be captured in a headset. And these next generation headsets coming to market are sort of more comfortable, better graphics, enable richer platform innovation. And that's why you see us working with Meta and Apple and others on what we're doing here. And not to steal the thunder of what's to come, but there is more to come. Let's take a quick look at what we've announced to date for Microsoft Mesh.
Sometimes hybrid meetings can feel a little impersonal.
Hello?
Avatars for Microsoft Teams gives people the choice to show up how they want, helping them feel more comfortable and included. But can we take digital presence a step further?
Just a minute.
Immersive spaces for Teams help interactions feel more engaging, more connected, and more natural.
Great job, Miriam.
Yeah, nice presentation.
But what if we could take it even further by building a custom immersive experience just for your organization? Microsoft Mesh elevates orientations, trainings, and employee experiences by transcending time and space. No matter where you are, you can come together in one place. Connect like never before with Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Mesh.
All right. We shared that a little while back. There is much more to come. I won't get into specifics. All I'll say is we're headed very close to the public preview of Mesh, where not only can you get access to avatars, but immersive spaces and the ability to build custom worlds with our tool set. Pretty amazing things we've seen for some of our early adopter customers. We've put a few of those on our website, but there is a lot more to come. So with that, let me again sort of say, have some perspective on the journey we've been on with cloud and AI, because I think we're going to see the same kind of evolution in hockey stick with more immersive technologies, 3D real-time experiences on desktop and headset. I think we're in the early stages of that to set expectations, but it's going to be pretty exciting. And so please do stay tuned. There's a lot of announcements from us in the next few weeks and months, and we'd welcome your feedback. So thank you again for attending Metaverse One, and thank you again for all your support and feedback from Microsoft. Thanks.